Hey guys, we're going to talk about what we talked about today in Social Studies 20. So we've been talking about national interest and nationalism and the causes of World War One. And so with yesterday, we talked about militarism, we talked about alliances, and today we're going to talk about nationalism. The acronym we're using, remember, is MANIA. And so we talked about the A, we've talked about the M, we've talked about the A. Now we talk about the N. And so nationalism. So we saw that in the build-up to World War One, there was growing senses of nationalism and countries wanting to be great and wanting to be prestigious and wanting independence and freedom. And so we looked at the national interests of a number of different countries and how when a nation is pursuing things in order to maximize their national interests, oftentimes they come into conflict with the national interests of other countries. So for example, we talked about how Germany wanted to be great and they wanted a powerful navy and they wanted more influence, which went against Britain's national interest, which was maintaining their naval supremacy, maintaining their power as the great British Empire of which the sun never sets. France, however, wanted to gain some of the land that they lost from the Germans in the Franco-Prussian War, and Germany wanted to help Morocco be independent, which was a French colony. And so we see German national interest conflicting with French national interest, and German national interest conflicting with British national interest. And so, as we say, anytime we have national interests that come into conflict and nationalism that comes into conflict, it oftentimes creates war. At the same time, we have Serbia, and so Serbia becomes an independent nation in the 1870s, and so they want to they want Serbian independence in the Balkans, and so there are many Serbians living in the Ottoman Empire and in Austria, and this puts them at conflict because by Serbia wanting to separate and wanting independence from the Austrian Empire, it puts them at odds with the Triple Alliance or the Central Powers. And at the same time, Serbia has got a backup with Russia, with their pan-Slavism. And so we started to see some of these issues come into conflict. And when you take these national interests and you mix them in with imperialism, mix them in with alliances, on top of that, you have, as we said, imperialism with countries competing to get colonial holdings. And when you mix all those things together, and you need a spark. And so the spark that we talked about is the assassination of Franz Ferdinand. And so Franz Ferdinand is assassinated by a young man by the name of Gavrilo Princip, who is a Serbian terrorist. That sparks the conflict because Serbia wants to go into Austria wants to go into Serbia to investigate. Russia has got Serbia's back. Germany has got Austria's back. France has got Russia's back. And so Germany is facing a two-front war. And so they try to implement the Schlieffen Plan by going through Belgium and going around and attacking France. However, by going through Belgium, they violate Belgium's neutrality and they drag England into the war. And so the Schlieffen Plan, which is designed to avoid a two-front war, creates more problems for the Germans. And so we saw that in the end, Germany loses. And as they lose at the Treaty of Versailles, at the Paris Peace Conference, they are forced to sign this document. And this document essentially says that they are guilty for the war, plus they have to pay reparations. And as we saw, this is going to pave the way for conflict because oppression builds nationalism, and nationalism can lead to conflict. And so that's just a quick review of what we talked about today. Please make sure you go over your notes, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for some hot soup.